Hello, welcome back to part 2 of repairing 28 broken switches and hopefully making a profit. So for today, we're starting off with the charge port issue related one. So I've got 4 that are no power. This one is the most blatant issue. Let me see if I can get that to focus. All those red dots are all disconnected pins on the charge port. So this one is pretty bad. I'm going to pop it under the microscope real quick and so we can get a better look at what we're working with. Yeah, definitely makes sense that those pins are marked missing, because holy shit, there's literally only like 2 pins left on here on this side. That whole top piece is like completely chopped off. I don't even know how that's possible. How do you do this while using it? Like, I don't comprehend. Whatever. Anyways, let's get this taken apart and we'll get started. Okay, so I've got the motherboard out, so I'm just going to do some testing on a couple components real quick. The worrying thing whenever there's physical damage to a port that you need to look out for is the 3 main components on the power rail, and that's the P13, the M92, and the BQ chip. So real quick, just because it's got physical damage, I do want to just check for shorts around those. That's ground. Okay, which none on that one. BQ coil. P13. Okay, so assuming we're lucky, it's only going to be the charge port that we need to replace. So I'm going to do the same method I did in my last video, and I'm going to apply heat from the top instead of the bottom. So right now I'm at 450 Celsius, 90% airspeed. And now I'm just going to switch back over to my soldering iron, pop on a bit of flux, and we're just going to retin those pads. Okay, and again, the reason I'm adding more solder onto those through holes is to lower the melting temperature, so it's easier to put the new port on. Mainly because the ports on Nintendo Switches are mostly plastic, so it's really easy to melt them. They can melt super, super quick. So the lower melting temperature, the easier it is to get on without them melting. And then real quick, I'm just going to give the board a quick clean. Okay. And then, if you remember my little tip from Joey Does Tech, I tagged him in my last video because I couldn't remember his name during the actual recording. But, so the tip from him is we're just going to pre-tin these pads, and I swear it really does help quite a bit. I didn't really think it could help as much as it did whenever I watched like his video talking about it. But it is, I mean, it's a very fundamental thing, but it just doesn't sound right when you first hear about it. At least for me, it didn't. Well. Voila, perfect. And then now I'm just going to dangle the switch off the edge of my desk, heat it up from there, and pop the new port on. So I'm just going to pop a bit of flux here, and then just go for it. Okay, and let's reorient and we'll check our work. Okay, and hopefully we don't have to reflow this. No, it didn't sit all the way down. Okay, that sucks. I hate having to reflow these. I'm just going to do that same trick I talked about before. Basically, we're going to heat from the top at 30% airspeed. Basically, it makes the plastic not actually like melt as fast, and that way you can reflow it really easily without having to kind of set it up on the edge of the desk like I was doing. Because whenever you do on the edge of the desk, you have to worry about melting the post holes all the way through, which of course you have to do it regardless, but the spread of the heat is better when you do it at like an angle, which is why you do it from the top.
So like I said, 450, 30% airspeed. You could even turn this down to like 400, 30% airspeed, and that would maybe give you a more consistent effect. But I opt for 450, mainly due to like speed. But you just want to put some flux on the pins, and this is going to push the flux to the second row of pins as well. I don't like that one pin. It sucks because it's that little section melted right there. And that pin is the one that's not all the way down. I'm just going to redo that one pin, and I'm going to really hope that the inner pins are okay. If not, I might, honestly, just because that one started to melt already, I might have to use a different port, which is going to suck if that's the case. Okay, that looks good. All good. Let's put it in our tail insertion tester real quick. Okay, so it still shows a bad pin on pin 20. So I don't know if that's the port at this point or if that's the M92. It's probably going to be the M92. And I'm going to run that trace really quick and see what it looks like. Okay, so I've gone around the board and I am not seeing a reason for this pin to be shorted. It's also, I did test it anyway. And yeah, it's still a no power issue. So we're going to go with the old reliable and we're just going to remove the M92. When all else fails. I'm still going at 450 Celsius, 90-degree airflow, or 90% airflow. That's just also the old reliable. And we will switch the overhead and I'll give that a test.
Okay, so I've got to put back together and we'll just make sure it's charging consistently. I know I already got it on. Yeah, but I was having a little bit of issues for a minute with charging. Okay, yeah, now it's consistent. I got it on a little bit ago, but it wasn't consistently charging. So I just re-tinned the pads real quick, and it seems to be working fine now. So that is one more down. We'll move on to the next one. So this one is a little bit more interesting. So it was a no power issue. However, when I read the pins, you can see, or maybe you can't see super well, but all of the pins test perfectly normal. And then when I plug it into my amp reader, charges totally fine, and it even does the boot cycle where it goes off and back on at like 14.9 volts, 200 amps or 0.200 amps, which is totally normal. That's completely expected. So I am suspecting that this might actually be a screen issue. So I have one more shell. I'm just gonna do a shell swap, and we're just gonna hope that that's all it needs. Oh shit. Okay. Yeah, this has water damage. The LDI is stripped, so maybe. Actually, that does still kind of lean towards it being a screen issue, especially because I don't see any corrosion. But once I get this board out, I'm going to do a much more like in-depth check over the board. And see, there's some on here as well.
Okay, yeah, wow. This is pretty severely corroded in several spots. So, of course, I'm just going to clean this guy first. Honestly, that didn't look like it did any, like, real damage. Visually, at least. That's super bizarre, because that doesn't... Like, that pad isn't tin, so it doesn't look like there's a missing component. But it looks... Oh, okay, no. I was gonna say, because it looks like that's solder. I guess that was just some, like, buildup? Oh, wow. Okay, that one's really bad. That might explain if it is just a power issue. Okay. That doesn't look horrific now. I'm just gonna go around and test a couple components and see if anything is shorted. The BQ coil. The P13. Okay. And let's look at the Max 770 over here. That capacitor looks really bad as well. I'm not sure if those are supposed to be shorted or not. I mean, after just doing the... Oh, shit. Is that corrosion on the... That's so bad. And then I'm gonna blow that out as well. I'm just gonna like blow some IPA like under the chip, and I'm gonna hope that that's enough. Okay, so according to some research, this is a cause of the issue I've been having. So the issue, to be specific, is it pulls 15 volts at 0.49 amps or 0.47 amps immediately and does not change at all. And this is the only known cause according to several posts. Okay, so I just plugged it back into the amp reader and we are getting the exact same result. Literally nothing's changed. So I think I'm going to set this one aside because according to what I've been seeing, it can also be caused by the RAM ICs or the APU itself. So I think I'm going to dedicate an entire video to just this one specifically and just count it as a loss for this video.
Alright, so after our first loss of the series, we are going on with this pretty standard one, ironically. This one is literally just, it works totally fine. It's just that the charge port is kind of wobbly. That's literally it. So we're just doing a charge port replacement and just maintaining its current functionality. So I'm going to go ahead and get this taken apart and we will meet back under the microscope.
So we're disassembled now, and I'm just going to do the same temperature as always, 450 Celsius, 90% airflow, and heating it from the bottom this time because after the little struggle I had where I had to reflow that last charge port 3 times, I'm just going to do it from the bottom and do this different technique where you just use the solder sucker to remove the legs and then read those later, just because I was having a lot of trouble with it sitting fully flush. So we're just going to try that out first and see how that goes. Okay, now that we got the through holes done, we just need to retin the pads. And then I'll tin the pads on the actual new port itself, and we'll just pop it on. Okay, and this time I am going to put this one from the top, I think, just because I don't need to worry about the through holes. Okay, so now I've got that new port installed, so I'm just going to pop in our port tester. All good diode readings. Can't really see it, but there you go, all greens. And just to double check with the amp reader as well, do we get 15 volts? Yes, we do. It is at 0 amps. Oh, never mind. 0.031, that's good. And then on the other side, the exact same thing. Actually, that one kind of flickered there. What's up with that? That might just be because there's not a battery attached. But generally it does pull like a small current. Either way, I'm going to go ahead and get this back installed in the housing just so I can give it a test with the battery and everything. So I'm going to cut forward to that. Oh, okay. There we go. It was just because the battery was disconnected, that's all. Make sure it full boots.
Nice. Okay. And just kind of wiggle this around because the issue originally was that it was loose. So that's still charging. Let's flip it over. Make sure that it stays consistently charging on the other side as well. That seems pretty stable. Okay, I'll get this one reassembled, and that is another one down. Welcome back to part 2 of fixing 28 Nintendo Switches, hopefully for profit. So today, what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to focus on these 3 first because these are all screen issues. So I'm going to swap all of these frames because I have frames, I don't have screens individually. And I'm going to use these frames, I'm going to use their Joy-Con rails to fix this stack right here of like 12 Joy-Con rail issues that I need to swap over. So yeah, we're just going to start from there. First, I want to go ahead and test all of these. This one is kind of stupid. It's actually just the vents that are damaged. Allegedly, this works like completely fine. Yeah, it turns on fine, at least so far. Okay, touch works. Joy-Con. Yeah. Both Joy-Con works, both are stable. Let's go ahead and plug in our mechanic tester. Make sure the port is okay on all 24 pins. Those diode readings are actually really low. I'm going to make sure that this charges on both sides really quick, because those numbers are very low. It should be reading around 800 ohms, I believe it's mega ohms, but it was reading around 40. Okay, it seems to charge fine. Honestly, I might just leave this one and sell this as is because I only have 2 frames, so I was gonna just do a screen swap later, but I think I'll just sell this as is, honestly, and just sell it at a little bit of a discount, obviously, because that is broken up there. Okay, on to the other 2. So this one apparently has white spots on the screen. It also does have broken vents, ironically, so I couldn't even have used like this. Okay, where are the white spots? What? Yeah, that's totally fine. I don't know what they're talking about. I'm honestly gonna go ahead and just mark this one good. Weird. Yeah, I don't know. What about you? Oh, this one is dead. This one says it's actually a touchscreen issue. So I actually could just pull the touchscreen off of one of them, like that. The one that had the vent issue, I could pull the touchscreen off and then still use that one of those frames. So I could replace that vent potentially. Maybe. Let's just go ahead and get this one powered on first, and then we'll test from there. Okay, so yeah, they said that it was a touchscreen issue. There's absolutely no touch on here. Fantastic. So I'll go ahead and take that off. Probably also just gonna just like re-plug in the cable just to, you know, test first, but I'll go ahead and get this taken apart. Okay, so I've gotten it taken apart now. I did want to mention I did attempt like a game cartridge reader replacement just because that is the digitizer cable that it plugs into, and it didn't have any effect. So unfortunately it is a dead digitizer. So I'm just heating this up on a CBP, not sponsored, heating pad to pull off that digitizer. I'm going to take a digitizer off of one of these red sticker ones because these were stickered for the LCD. So I'm just going to trust it. I'm going to, because I mean, I want to use as much as I can from these like dead chassis. So I'm just going to hope that this one works out. I do feel a little silly because on the one that I'm transferring it over to, I removed the motherboard. And the reason I did that was because whenever you're replacing an LCD, you usually need to do that too, because this is the backlight cable here, and it will sometimes get kind of stuck. That just screw this up there. But it'll get stuck under the board, so you sometimes have to take the motherboard out to put it through. But I completely forgot that I'm not replacing the LCD, I'm only replacing the digitizer. So I really didn't need to do that at all. Okay, fantastic. I'll go ahead and get this reassembled and we will test it out from there. And also make sure that the adhesive was strong enough. It was still really hot, so I don't know if it kind of clicked in all the way. But after it cools down, hopefully it'll be like fully sealed. But I'll test that more whenever I get out reassembled. Okay, it's all booted up, so... Oh no. Still nothing. What the hell? Okay, this might be a more in-depth issue than I realized. Or potentially this digitizer may have been bad already. I don't really have a way to know. Well, in that case, I'll go ahead and order a new one of these and also set this aside for the now, and we will finish this up at a later point in the video. So next up, I'm going to go through all of these ones that are Joy-Con replacements. I believe it's 11 of them. So I believe they're all charged up now. So I'm just going to go one by one and actually confirm what it needs. And I'm going to pop them in their own stacks and I will figure out what all I have on them. Okay, and that one's also right. Although the digitizer on this one is like very scratched up. I'm going to try to clean that off and see if that's... No, that's definitely just actually scratched. So this one's probably going to need a digitizer replacement as well, unfortunately. Just like with the last issue I had with the screens, this is a non-solder issue, so I'm just going to have some sped up footage and I'm just going to go through all of them at once and maybe have a bit of commentary piped in throughout that. Wow, that is fucking gross. The other thing that sucks about this one is that the back plate is fucking destroyed, so like I'm gonna replace this. I have like another one, luckily, so that's not too big a deal. Or well, actually, maybe I don't. That one looks damaged. Yeah, here's one. Okay, I did have another. So I've got this one I can swap in, and it has a hinge, so... Or a stand, rather. So that'll be back at least. The other sucky thing, the frame is damaged, although it's like fairly minimal. It's just a little chip in the bottom corner, so I'll probably just leave that as is. Okay, let's hope. That one's on. Voila. Alright, and let's reassemble this one. That one's good to go. I think I'm just gonna have to go with this one. It kind of sucks because it's missing the little posts here, so this it's not gonna sit fully flush on the bottom. But I think it'll be better than the other one, at least. Okay, that's one of them down. So, left working. Okay, still nothing on the right Joy-Con. So either the one I have is defective or there is something wrong on the motherboard. So I'm going to set this one to the side and I will take a look at it again a little bit later after I finish testing all these other ones. Nice. Oh, okay. Nice. Oh. Okay, cool beans. So that's another one down. I'll just reassemble this and then that one is good to go. Nice. Nice. Cool. Okay, so I just rewatched the last video back and I know it cuts out the ending. So I'm just gonna try to go over this best I can while it's kind of unhooked, or while I take it apart. So basically I replaced this rail already, and at the end of the last video, or well, a few minutes ago in the video you're currently watching rather, it just kind of cuts off when I'm about to test it. So the issue that happened is that when I plug that in, it has some sort of short on it or something. It has some super weird kind of damage going on, because as soon as I plug that in, it immediately gets either a 2168 0002 error, which is a RAM IC, and then if I restart it, it boots into a 2101 0001, which is an M92 error. And I'm pretty confident neither of those issues exist. So what I did is I went ahead, I bought new Joy-Con rails instead of reusing them from donor boards. And I'm going to test that real quick. Okay, let's get this turned on and we'll hopefully see that working. Another fun thing about this one that I forgot to clarify when I was describing the issue, whenever this rail is not plugged in, it boots fine. So like that RAM IC error, the M92 IC error, are not present whenever this rail was unplugged. That's why I decided, instead of to actually try to replace the M92, I just bought a new rail, because that's, I mean, common denominator. Okay, so immediately we can see that it actually does boot without giving that error that it was giving. So really, okay. Okay, well, I guess, yeah, even with a new one, it does not detect it at all. So I'm gonna have to put a little more time into this one. It could be something really simple, but I am running out of time in this video, so I'm gonna try to blitz through all of the like quick ones first. So this one might have its own separate video, along with that other one from before. Alright, back to doing rail replacements. So we've got an OLED this time, left rail. We confirmed in the last video, I believe it was, we did these, that it was actually the left rail. And I've got some brand new ones here, so I'm just gonna get this taken apart and then we will swap that out. Okay, wait. These are working just fine. I could have sworn we tested this already. And it's totally working. And it's a stable connection, because it would have failed that if it would have failed if it couldn't have stayed connected. Okay, weird. I wish I would have retested it because it's working just fine. That's so strange. Um, I mean, I guess I call that a win. Let me make sure you connect to internet, because that's one of the biggest issues these ones face is Wi-Fi. Yeah, I can. Okay. What the fuck? Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not going to be upset about, like, a free win. That's pretty awesome. Well, let's move to the next one, I guess. Okay, so I believe these are the last two that we have for Joy-Con issues. We got both, and we got a right Joy-Con. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with the right Joy-Con, and I will kind of blitz through this real quick. Okay, that is installed. Let's get that booted on, and we'll give it a test. Okay, there we go. So now I got it on. And check the rails. Left rail working. Right rail working. And no wobbly. Okay, let's get that back together, and then that is another one down. Quick and easy. And now we're on to switch number 23, I believe this is. This is just both Joy-Cons need replaced, or Joy-Con rails rather. So again, just gonna blitz it because I've done this like 47 times already. Okay, so I've charged it up enough to test. Oops. So one side working. Perfect. Okay. This one was previously both Joy-Cons were not able to connect. So I'll get that reassembled, and then that is another one down. So depending on how I manage this recording, this is kind of a little revenge match for me. Essentially, this is the one from earlier where we replaced the digitizer and it still didn't work. And I thought it was probably just a defective digitizer that I had. So we have a little time jump here. I've gone ahead and I've ordered a brand new digitizer to install on it. And so we're just going to kind of get to work on that. So I'm just going to pry this one off. The adhesive shouldn't be super cured, so I should be able to just actually just pop it off. I am also aware that there are like the internal clips are going to help a lot with holding this in. So like the adhesive isn't like extraordinarily important on this specific type of device, but I'm just gonna play it safe. I don't want to play around with that, especially like I'm selling these, so I don't want someone to be like playing this and then it just falls off and be like, oh well shit, gotta contact the seller, because that is not going to be great for my rep. Okay, wow. Yeah, still no touch. That's with two digitizers, and I've already replaced the cartridge reader as well. So, gonna be probably a further motherboard diagnostic issue. That makes 3 devices now that I'm gonna be putting onto their own video for specialty problems. And then so for the next 2, I've got these here that both just say that they have Wi-Fi issues. So, okay, so this one's working. And so is this one. Okay, yeah, so both of these are fine. I'm not sure. I guess their internet was just bad that day when they were testing, but that is 2 that are cleared with no work, so that's pretty cool. So, back to stealing ideas from Joey Does Tech, I've got my own spreadsheet here. So, I do want to clear up right here. I actually had the wrong amount. I bought 29 switches, not 28 switches. So we've got that there. We paid a grand total of $1,710.74. That comes out to about $58.99 per switch. To my understanding, that is a little bit high. It's usually around $50 per switch. However, that does include an OLED model, so that does change things a bit. So what I'm seeing right now that they've actively sold for, they're selling for about $100 for the regular switch and around, or well, so for the regular switch, we'd be looking at 2,800 plus if we include the OLED, because the OLED has been ranging a good bit. I've been seeing it sell between, like, I saw some as low as 150 and I saw some as high as 300 that were completed sales. So I'm just gonna kind of go in the middle and say 200. So we'd be looking at 3,000. That's a selling price. That doesn't include eBay fees or anything. I'm going to calculate that in the actual profit. But I do want to mention, I'm just going to take off 300 here now because I do have those 3 switches that I need to work on a separate video. I'm going to have their own row for that. So let's just knock that down, 300 for that. So in total, this is our predicted profit, but well, not profit, it's before fees. We'd be looking at $989.26. So that's pretty damn good for the first haul that I've gotten. And then in the next video, assuming however many I've sold by then, I'll have some more up-to-date numbers on our actual profit and what we're looking like, so I can get you guys a pretty good idea on how we're doing here. So thank you for watching the video. I really appreciate it. You all have a great day.